Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tesham durapam kim tvanyam Martyanam Bhagavat Padam Bhuvi Loka Yusho Yevai Naiskaram Yam Sadhayantyuta. Herald, every human being has a short span of life. But those who are engaged in devotional service go back home, back to Godhead, for they are actually on the path of liberation. For such persons there is nothing which is not available. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta-Svamin Prabhupada. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:33, Lord Krishna says, Anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. The Lord here declares that this material world is full of miseries, asukham, and at the same time is very flickering, anityam. Therefore, one's only duty is to engage himself in the devotional service. This is the best end to which human life can be put. Those devotees who are constantly engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord achieve not only all material benefits, but also all spiritual benefits. For at the end of life, they go back home, back to Godhead. Their destination is described in this verse as Bhagavat Padam. The word Padam means abode, and Bhagavat means the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, the destination of the devotees is the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, the word Naiskaramyam means transcendental knowledge, is also significant. Unless one comes to the platform of transcendental knowledge and offers devotional service to the Lord, one is not perfect. Generally, the processes of jnana, yoga, and karma are executed life after life before one gets a chance to render pure devotional service to the Lord. This chance is given by the grace of a pure devotee, and it is in this way only that one can actually attain liberation. In the context of this narration, the wives of the demigods repented because although they had the opportunity of a birth in a higher planetary system, a lifetime spanning millions of years and all material comforts, they were not as fortunate as Prithu Maharaj and his wife, who were actually surpassing them. In other words, Prithu Maharaj and his wife scorned promotion to the higher planetary systems and even to Brahmaloka, because the position which they were attaining was incomparable. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord affirms, Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartanorjuna. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. In other words, even if one goes to the highest planet, Brahmaloka, he has to return to the miseries of birth and death. In the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna also asserts, Te tam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam Shine punye martya lokam vishanti. When they have thus enjoyed heavenly sense pleasure, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, after exhausting the results of pious activities, one has to come again to the lower planetary systems and begin a new chapter of pious activities. It is therefore said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Naiskaramam apyachutya bhava varjitam. The path of liberation is not at all secure unless one attains the devotional service of the Lord. Even if one is promoted to the impersonal Brahmajyoti, he runs every chance of falling down into this material world. If it is possible to fall down from the Brahmajyoti, which is beyond the higher planetary systems in this material world, then what can be said of the ordinary yogis and karmis who can only be elevated to the higher material planets? Thus the wives of the denizens of the higher planetary systems did not very much appreciate the results of karma, jnana, and yoga. I am very grateful for this opportunity to be among all of you in this very holy abode, Srila Prabhupada's office, the temple of Sri Radhanath Swami Maharaj. My special gratitude to Brajahari Prabhu for inviting me today, Bhaktarupa Prabhu for tolerating my existence, being with us today, and everyone. We are reading from Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 23, entitled Maharaj Prithu's Going Back Home, Text 27. In this particular verse, we are hearing the words of the wives of the demigods as they are personally witnessing Prithu Maharaj and Arachi, his wife, ascending to the spiritual world of Vaikuntha. Both Prithu Maharaj and Archie lived extraordinary, exemplary lives. How they appeared within this world is very instructive and echoes one of the consistent and primary teachings on the path of bhakti. How something great can emerge out of something horrible if we know the science of seeing the essence of the opportunity and extracting it. King Vena was one of the worst kings of history from every perspective. He was selfish, egoistic, and sinful. It wasn't about the citizens, it was about him. He craved power and control, and he would do anything, say anything for that purpose only. How he exploited people, and how he corrupted the very culture. The king is supposed to be the representative of God, who sees everything as the property of God, including all of the citizens, and is the humble caretaker. This was the way Ambarish, Rantidev, Ramchandra, Yudhisthira Parikshit, Rishabdev, all the great kings of history. It wasn't about them being the master of a post. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Krishna says in Gita that everything is my property. So the king's first and foremost duty is to protect the earth and all of the citizens according to the will of Krishna, and give everyone the opportunity to perfect their lives. But Vena did just the opposite. He was so envious of God that with his political power and his military forces, he outlawed any Brahmins to perform any type of yajna that was not specifically and exclusively for him. Worship me. The king is the representative of God. I'm the king. Therefore, whatever you want to do for God or anyone else, you just do it through me, because I am the one. And anyone who deviates will be punished. That's how he twisted the philosophy. Srila Prabhupada explained, the guru, the king, they are representatives of God. But that means they're humble servants, and they don't accept anything for themselves. Whatever's offered, it's the property of God. Prabhupada didn't name the movement the A.C. Bhaktivedanta-Svamin Society, or the International Society for A.C. Bhaktivedanta-Swami Consciousness. It was for Krishna consciousness. As the representative of God, he was teaching us how to know God, how to love God, Krishna. In the story of Dhruva Maharaj, Prabhupada even was so humble, he was saying, like Dhruva, like Dhruva's mother, I'm hoping even my disciples help me to go back to God. This is his humility. In other words, he wasn't saying, I am God, I'm the representative of God. That means the humble servant of God, the messenger of God, the servant of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was God. But as a devotee in the role, Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayora Dasa Dasa Dasanudas, he proclaimed himself to be the servant of the servant of the servant. This is the way every great king, every great guru, every great leader has lived. But Vena, extremely intelligent, he took a good philosophy and he completely manipulated it to satisfy his own ego purposes. Brahmins are saying that I'm the worshipable God, I'm his representative of God, therefore I am your God. You surrender unto me. You abandon all varieties of religion and you surrender unto me. That's what he was saying. And in this way he was taking everyone away from the path of dharma. So he created havoc, ignorance. He was cruel. The word Vena basically describes his quality of cruelty. He wasn't protecting the citizens. He was cruelly exploiting the citizens for himself. So the Brahmins, who were outlawed to do anything according to the principles of Dharma, they chanted some mantras and ended his life. So here is this very, very sinful king. But now there was a problem. There was no king. And therefore the secondary rogues and thieves under him, they started plundering everything, and there was no way to discipline them. So they had to have a king. And in those days, it was a very sacred thing that the king was a descendant. This Dhruva, so many Uttanapada, these were all in this line. So they wanted to preserve the line. So they churned, by a mystical yogic process, they churned the body of Vena through mantra. And from that ugly, dark cause of misery came Prithu and Archie. They took all the bad out of him, and then the essence came, who became one of the greatest, most compassionate, loving kings in the history of the world. So these Brahmins, they had spiritual vision. And this could be applied to situations that we all personally confront within the world. Tate nukampam susamikshamano bunjana evatmakritam vipagam. When there is even crisis, difficulties within life, whether they be small or gigantic, Srimad Bhagavatam says, with folded hands, have a grateful heart. Accept that I deserve worse. And try to look for the opportunity to grow and to serve in that situation. I say it's consistent, it's so consistent. In one lecture on Narasingha Chaturdasi, Srila Prabhupada, I listen to the tape from time to time. It gives me hope. Prabhupada begins the lecture by saying, all glories to Shriman Hiranyakashipu. Because if it wasn't for him, we would not know who is Lord Nrsimhadev. And if it wasn't for Ravana, we wouldn't know Ramchandra. He came because the demigods were so desperate. And we know from Srimad Bhagavat, the devas, the rishis, the sages, along with Lord Brahma, they went to the ocean of milk because Mother Earth was being plundered and exploited by demons like Kamsa and Jarasandha. And they prayed, Krishna save us, or Lord save us, and Krishna appeared. And where did he appear? Vasudeva and Devaki, they were in a prison cell, in chains, for years, suffering, seeing 6 of their children brutally killed in front of their eyes. It was the most horrible situation. But from that prison cell of Kamsa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared to deliver everyone, to perform his most beautiful pastimes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Advaita Prabhu, Srivas, Haridas, Thakur, they saw the atheism spreading within this age of Kali like poison. People were so much addicted to materialistic, egoistic ways. Even Brahmins and scholars said nothing about devotional service. Their hearts were pained. Seeing this impelled Sri-Advaita Prabhu to be crying out with tears of love, Krishna, please come to this world. No one else can save it but you. It's too far gone. And that was 500 years ago. But Advaita Acharya could see the future too. And then the Lord, how did he appear? At what apparently is a very inauspicious time, the lunar eclipse. When people go to the Ganga and drop all of their activities and just cry out the names of Lord Hare, even if they don't believe in Hare, because it's considered a very desperate time of inauspiciousness. It was then that Parama Karuna Pahu Duijana, the most merciful, Sara Avatara, the essence of all avatars, the most merciful Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So again and again we find, and in Srila Prabhupada's life, we appreciate and glorify Prabhupada so much because of what he had to deal with. He didn't get a first-class seat on Air India. He got a simple little bed in a cargo ship, 38 days crossing the Arabian Sea, 2 continents, and the Atlantic Ocean. And at the beginning of his journey, 2 heart attacks, severe seasickness, at the age of 70. Then he came to America, and after a few weeks in Butler, Pennsylvania, where nobody really cared anything for his message, they just thought he was something entertaining. They never heard of a Swami in Butler, Pennsylvania, and here he was, living among them. And then the Bowery, where he was robbed, his life was threatened, he was in poverty. Nobody back home in India wanted to help him. Either they just said, we cannot help, or they said, come back home, it's impossible. From that situation, Prabhupada emerged as World Acharya. So Krishna repeatedly wants to teach us that this world is a place of difficulties. It is a place of inevitable obstacles. It is a place of crisis and tragedy. But we should never be discouraged. Because if we see the opportunity to serve Krishna in any condition, Krishna is 100% there. It's just a matter of our consciousness. In the Christian faith, the most horrible thing that ever happened was Jesus was crucified. But that's what made Christianity so great. That's what they keep on top of their churches, and they wear the cross on their bodies. That's what spread the movement all over the world to be the largest religion on the planet. Is the most horrible thing that could have possibly happened. Because they promoted the essence of what it means. So we should learn, individually and collectively, that what may appear to be a setback has the potential to empower us to do something that could have never been done if it wasn't for that setback. But we have to have this spiritual vision. Srila Prabhupada taught us not to think in terms of mundane logic. Srila Prabhupada taught us Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means to be conscious of the inherent presence of Krishna in everything, in every situation. and Jivera Swarupoi Krishnera Nityadas, to understand that we are eternally servants of Krishna. Eternally doesn't mean simply, after we die, forevermore. It means in every situation today. Eternally means always. It's not just something in the future, it's something of the present and the future. So eternally the servant of Krishna means in whatever situation, whether everything's being taken away from us, whether we're being smashed in all directions, whether we're failing, or whether we're in Goloka Vrindavan, dancing with the gopas or the gopis. Eternal servant means we're ready to serve Krishna and do what Krishna wants in whatever situation comes. And if we do that, we'll find Krishna, because he's in our hearts, ready to reciprocate. So here, from the most horrible situation, came the most wonderful benediction, because the Brahmin saw the opportunity, even in darkness, to bring light. Nobody likes the monsoons, but there's no life without them. Yes? We complain, oh, it's raining so hard today. But then if it doesn't rain, we complain there's not enough rain, there's no water, there's no food, prices are going up. So the hardships of the monsoons are actually nourishing the whole earth. So similarly, the tapasyas, the difficulties we endure, if we just keep our mind fixed on Krishna in a positive way, they nourish our bhakti. And they provide wonderful opportunities. Devotees should never be discouraged. Devotees should never give up. Devotees should be happy with the opportunity to serve. Krishna, in this situation, what is it that you want? How can I serve you? And through that transformation, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleaned the Gundicha temple, from the description in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, it sounds like it was pretty dirty before it went in there, because they were collecting mountains and mountains of dust and sand and straw pieces. It didn't seem like it was being cleaned every day. It's a dirty place. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made that cleaning into the most glorious festival. Not only did all the devotees enjoy the festival of cleaning Gundicha, that even 500 years later, we're enjoying the festival just by reading about it. It's wonderful. So yes, our hearts are dirty places, so we could be depressed about it. We have lust and envy and anger and pride and greed and illusion. We could think, oh, what am I supposed to do? I give up, it's just too much. Well, we could see this is a wonderful opportunity to really take shelter of the holy name. It's not just a matter of chanting as a ritual, or chanting as a formality, or chanting because I'm supposed to. That's there. But beyond that, we have a desperate need. We see lust and envy and anger and greed and pride and illusion showing their ugliness in our life. And it impels us, Krishna, I am in desperate need of your mercy. And in this sense, we don't just say to Vaishnavas, Haribo, Prabhu, but we realize that the association of devotees is a desperate need in my life. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is not just an interesting book to read or a pious activity. It's critical. Like Parikshit Maharaj. He was in rapt attention because he understood it was the critical need of his life. There was nothing more important. That is how we should hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And we should cultivate that same sense of desperate urgency when we chant the holy names of the Lord. But for most of us, it's the reversals and the dark sides of life that impel us to actually take shelter of the Lord. That is why Srila Prabhupada cites that the great sages worship Kali Yuga as the best time. It's the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. It's the age of darkness, where there's not much memory, there's not much piety, there's not much ability to perform tapasya, and people are so misled. And there's so many sins and so much corruption. But because of all these problems, celebrating the glories of Kali Yuga. Festival bell. Because of all these problems, Krishna descends within his name. Kali Kale Namarupe Krishna Avatar. And not only does he descend in the name, but there's enough suffering everywhere around that people really have the opportunity in that situation, but both seeing the darkness within and without. Krishna, I need you. And you're so kind. Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti. You've made yourself so available with a grateful heart. Let me take shelter of Krishna, of your names, my Lord. Kali Yuga is the best time. Once in a day of Brahma, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his original form of Sri-Krishna-Caitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. There's a Yuga avatar every Kali Yuga that teaches Nam Sankirtan as the Yuga Dharma, but only once in a day of Brahma does Krishna come to search for the sweetness of the love of Sri Radha, to understand that love and to distribute it to the world. So yes, Kali Yuga is so bad, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes with this most merciful dispensation of the easiest process. Kevala Anandakanda. It's a joyful process. We read in this chapter what Prithu Maharaj had to do to perfect his life. We'll discuss that in a moment. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just follow these simple regulative principles, develop a nice service attitude, associate devotees, and take shelter of the holy names. It's the best time in the whole day of Brahma. Is the worst time, is the best time, because the Lord appears in his most merciful way. So in this way, devotees should always be encouraged with this faith in the absolute truth that every situation is a perfect opportunity to become perfect if we just take shelter of Krishna and live and speak according to what Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas have taught us. Prithu Maharaj came out of the body of Vena, and everyone started glorifying him. Prithu Maharaj, he didn't want any glory for himself. He just wanted to serve. If glory comes, he'll use it in Krishna service. If it doesn't come, it doesn't matter. I serve unconditionally. So he told, when they were all glorifying him, he said, I haven't done anything yet. I was just born. You shouldn't glorify me until I do something. You know, they had their horoscopes and everything. They knew what would happen, but he didn't. Let me do something. And what did he do? It's chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam. How he protected the earth, how he protected the citizens. One of the great things he did is his example of pridelessness for the higher purpose. He was performing these 100 Aswamedha Yajnas, and Indra had the world record, the universe record. And he was attached to that. And Prithu, he was about to break that record. So Indra was doing everything he possibly could to stop him, to protect his prestige, to protect his name being in history as the greatest of the sacrifice doers. So he was actually creating all sorts of irreligion throughout the universe in his repeated attempts. He didn't care so much that he was misguiding others, he was polluting the environment and everything else, because he was so focused on his prestige. But Prithu was so powerful that he actually defeated Indra. And then Brahma came down and said, don't do any more sacrifices. Let Indra have his world record. So Prithu said, all right. He was doing it for the purpose of serving the great souls. This is very instructive. We may say we're doing something for Prabhupada, but it may be mixed with doing it for me. And the question is, what if the great souls say not to do it? Are you attached to doing it? Even if it means you lose so much? That's the test. So he was about to break the record and go down in history. And Brahma said, don't do it. He didn't debate with Brahma, well, what about this, what about this? And look at Indra, why should he hold the record when he's such a nonsense person doing all these things? Prithu Maharaj, I'm here to serve. I was only trying to do these yajnas for service, and if it's a better service to not do the yajna, I won't do the yajna. And then Vishnu came down and praised Prithu and chastised Indra. And today in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Indra has the record. But what you do may impress people's minds a little, but to actually impress people's hearts is based on our character, not based on our accomplishments, but based on the character in which we do those accomplishments. Srila Prabhupada's character, his compassion, his qualities of love is what win our heart. And then we see what his accomplishments were. It goes to our hearts. There are cheating kind of preachers of other religions and who have even more followers. But does that impress our hearts? It's Prabhupada's character. Accomplishments are great when they're built on the foundation of character, compassion, humility, devotion. So now we are sitting here millions of years later, and we all are impressed by Indra. He's a great soul who does great service. Sometimes the Lord uses him to teach us lessons, what we should be careful not to do. And if the Lord wants to use him, then all we could do is offer obeisances. And besides that, it was a different Indra then, so we don't have to worry about, this Indra getting angry with us, because it's a post that changes. But today, when we read this story, when we hear this story, it's Prithu Maharaj's willingness to give up his own fame and prestige for a higher purpose that impresses us hundreds and thousands of times more than Indra, who holds the record. So Prithu Maharaj did so many wonderful things. There are beautiful verses glorifying him. He was so powerful, and he was so learned, but he used all his opulences in a spirit of compassion to all living beings and service to Krishna. His intellect, it describes, was equal to Brihaspati. He always was engaged in loving service to the Lord, always protecting his citizens. There was no poverty. He was young, he was beautiful, he had tremendous wealth. No one was envious of him because he was so philanthropic and charitable to everyone. Prabhupada in one purport explains that he did philanthropy from his heart, not as a show. Many politicians, they do philanthropy as a show so that they can get popularity or other benefits. But Paradukadukhi, he was helping people because Prabhupada quotes, when you help someone, you should feel, if I was in that situation, how would I want someone to help me? You're identifying. You see other people's suffering as your own, you see other people's happiness as your own. And in this way, he was ultimately, by his example in every aspect of his life, leading people in the path of pure devotional service. But in this chapter, it describes he was getting old. So he just walked away. When we really read it, what kind of a great soul is this? From the day of his birth, he's living in palaces with servants and all sorts of luxuries. And now he's getting old, he just walks out. He announces to his citizens, I'm leaving now. He puts someone else as the king. And he just went into the forest with nothing. And he wasn't like going to check it out with the alternative of maybe coming back or calling for some help. When he left, it was for good. And it wasn't that he was that old. He couldn't have done it if he was that old, because the nature of how he lived. He and his wife together, they only ate roots and tree bark and whatever fruit that they happened to just see on the trees. They wore tree bark as clothes. They slept on the ground, no bed. And in the summer, Prabhupada explains, like a yogi, they light 4 fires around them, blazing fires, and then the sun overhead, and sit in meditation. And in the monsoons, they don't go under a tree for protection. They go right directly under the rain in meditation. And in the winter, instead of wearing warm clothes, they go inside the river They break the ice and go where it's colder. It's colder in the river than it is outside. The outside's not cold enough in the Himalayan winter. They go underwater, up to their necks. Have any of you ever gone to Gangotri or Gomukh and taken a bath? Please raise your hand. Or the Alaknanda and Badrinath. You know how cold it is. I remember the first time I went to Badrinath. I went to do my Gayatri mantra. It was the fastest Gayatri mantra of my life. It's so cold. Well, Prithu Maharaj would just go into those rivers up to his neck in the winter time. We went in May. He goes in the winter time, stays there throughout the day and night. At a certain point, he was just eating dry leaves. And at another point, he decided dry leaves were sense gratification. And all he did is breathe. He nourished himself by breathing. He was preparing himself for death. But the amazing thing is he was very enthusiastic about it. It wasn't like, he's at the fag end of his life and someone, took him on a wheelchair into the forest. If he was able to do all this tapasya, that means he was very energetic. He could have lived much, much longer. And ultimately, he fixed his mind. Everything, all of his tapasyas were to fix his mind in devotional service to Krishna. He didn't care about the heavenly planets. He didn't care about the impersonal Brahman. Every one of his austerities was, throughout the description of his tapasya in the Bhagavatam, the word bhakti is being used. It was all for Krishna's pleasure. No other purpose. And he was so eager to go back to Godhead. We can understand by these principles that if he could do this kind of austerity, he could have lived much longer. But he couldn't wait to go back to Godhead. No time for a natural death for him. He started, Prabhupada said he sat in the Muktasan. And he raised his life airs, and he raised the divine energies in the body through the yogic process, but the whole time with his mind fixed on Krishna, so he could just end it quick. He raised the Shakti through the chakras, between his eyebrows, fixed it on Krishna, surrendered his soul, his body, mind, words, and soul to Krishna, and then through the top of his head, his soul went left. He was sitting there. And Archie was looking at him, and her son was dead. So she made the funeral pyre and joined him. And here we see the demigods. People in this world are so interested in sense gratification. And higher planets are where there's really sense gratification. This earthly existence, sense gratification is so mixed with so many complications and implications and sufferings. But they were looking down and they saw his body was in flames. And then they were looking up and they saw Prithu Maharaj and Archie's, their original spiritual bodies were on an airplane going to Vaikuntha. And they passed right by them. They didn't even look in the direction of the heavenly planets with all its luxuries. So for a devotee, we try to stay within this world as long as we can render nice service. But from another level, a devotee is looking forward to death, because we can go back to Godhead. Prithu Maharaj was really looking forward to death. He was making so many wonderful arrangements for his death. He was preparing himself. Prabhupada quotes a Bengali proverb that all that you do in life and all that you accomplish with life, it will all be tested at the moment of death. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam chajachante kalevaram. If we remember Krishna at death, we attain Krishna. Whatever we remember, we will attain that without fail. So Srila Prabhupada gives us so much encouragement. He says that living in the brothel is in the mode of ignorance. Living in the city is the mode of passion. Living in the forest is the mode of goodness. But today, who can do what Prithu Maharaj did in the forest? Just live like that. And even the forests aren't all that good anymore. I mean, long ago I used to live in the forest and I used to hear airplanes go and I know a great yogi in the forest who started becoming he lived in a cave. He lived very much like Prithu Maharaj, and another yogi shot him dead with a gun because he thought he was becoming too popular. So Kali Yuga, living in the forest is not necessarily the best way. But Prabhupada says living in a temple of Vishnu or Krishna is Vaikuntha. It's beyond material existence. Instead of eating dry leaves, you can just eat Mahaprasad. But not too much. Instead of being alone with animals and tigers, you can be with devotees. Sometimes we may think they're like tigers. But we have to see the essence in them. We have to not be so concerned with the pod marks in the moon. They're Vaishnavas, they're devotees. We come together, we chant the holy names, we read Srimad Bhagavatam. By fixing our mind on Krishna this way, it's more conducive and more powerful than trying to do it alone in the forest. It's the spiritual world. Narottam Das Thakur prays, Ananda Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Just chant Hare Krishna and worship Vrindavan. And wherever we're chanting Hare Krishna sincerely in a mood of devotional service, Vrindavan is manifesting. And the inevitable fate of death becomes the doors opening to the spiritual world. If we're looking for Krishna, if we're seeking Krishna in our life, ABHAYCHARAN ravindare, then even death does not cause us fear. So the ladies of the heavenly planets, they are praying. They're marveling. In this material world, every human being has a short span of life. And this is Satya Yuga. And they're living in heavenly planets in Satya Yuga. That means their lives are millions of years. Here, if we could live till 80, then that's a long life. And usually, people are pushing us in a wheelchair or something. It's very difficult. But here, these ladies, beautiful, heavenly, millions of year old ladies are saying, and they're not looking old. But they're talking about human life, very, very short span. But those who are engaged in devotional service go back home, back to Godhead for they are actually on the path of liberation. For such persons there is nothing which is not available. This is the beauty of this verse in this particular section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, is these denizens of heaven are so impressed because Prithu Maharaj and Archie are not the slightest bit concerned with all the things that they're attached to. They're so attached to these things, and they see all the things Indra does just to sustain these attachments. But here they see these people, they're totally indifferent. They can tell the Vaikuntha airship, let's stop at this rest area for some time of a heavenly planet. And I always wanted to see what it looked like there in Indra's abode. They had no concern whatsoever. Their minds were fixed on Krishna. Rupa Goswami explains, if you want to be attached to all these things of this world, do not go to Keshi Ghat, where you will see the beautiful threefold bending form of Govindaji playing his flute. Once you see that form, society, friendship, love, wealth, even heavenly abodes, even liberation becomes insignificant. Param Drisva Nivartate. Prithu Maharaj, his mind was fixed in pure love for Krishna. Today is the first day of the month of Purushottam. Purushottam is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This month is a particular time that comes every few years where the Lord manifests Himself, manifests special opportunities to reconnect with Him. It's like the month of Kartik is considered to be specially blessed by Srimati Radharani to give devotion for any spiritual activities we perform during that month. Purushottam is a special month that the Supreme Personality of Godhead presides over. And in this month gives very special opportunities. Whatever devotional activities are sincerely performed, Krishna will give special reciprocation and give special increased benefits. Just to give us opportunities. If He made every month like that, we wouldn't take it seriously. Actually, in one sense, every month is like that. Every moment is like that. But Krishna gives special months where He gives special benedictions and special Puranic stories, so we take something serious. And we take it maybe more serious. But actually, whatever is here in Purushottam month or whatever is here in Kartik month, if we're really serious, at every moment, anywhere we are in the world, at any time, we can take shelter of Krishna. Just like with Bhishma, he waited for the auspicious time when the sun was entering into the northern hemisphere, the Makara Sankranti, to pass away. And in Bhagavad Gita, there are different explanations of how yogis choose a particular time. The Prabhupada says for a devotee, because they're always trying to remember Krishna, because they're always immersed in Krishna consciousness, because they're intense to utilize every precious moment for Krishna's service, it doesn't matter. Krishna's with them. So some people, ritualistic people, they engage in sins or impious activities, or they may be pious, but they're just lethargic about their spiritual activities, and they wait till Kartik or Purushottam, then they get serious, because it's a special benediction. That's good, but better and best is when we understand every single moment Krishna, Purushottam, is there for us. But to help us what we should be doing every moment of every day for our whole life is intensely taking shelter of Krishna and trying to increase our sadhana. Krishna wants us to improve. At least, we're not willing to do it every moment, which he's instructing us. Man mana bhavamad bhakto. Always think of me. Not just during Purushottam Maas. Always think of me. But to get that intense urgency, such benedictions come is in the month of Purushottam, which is actually a great benediction. There will be, for anyone who sincerely takes shelter of the Lord and follows the principles to attentively chant the holy names or increase their chanting of the holy names, there will be special benediction. In Vrindavan, there are many temples, and their tradition is all the festivals of the whole year can be celebrated during Purushottam Maas. And it's non-different than that day. So one temple, they'll just choose any day in Purushottam Maas and say, we're going to celebrate Janmashtami again. And it's considered to be the day of Janmashtami. The titi and everything, it's right there. And another day Radhastami, and another day Govardhan Puja, and another day Holi, another day Gaur Purnima, another day Ram Nomi, another day Nityananda Trayodasi. They just have festivals every day, and it's considered to be that day. That's the way many temples do, because this month is so special to access and connect again to Krishna. So let us take advantage and focus and increase our sadhana and increase our awareness and increase our humility, and most of all, increase our service attitude, our enthusiasm to please Krishna. And in this spirit, to chant the holy names from our hearts. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very, very much. Dr. Rupa Prabhu, would you like to speak something? Rajahari Prabhu? It is time to end the class. I'm very grateful for your kindness to let me serve you. Hare Krishna.